Absolutely. Hi, Naughty Maynade. I am kind of just getting social media posts all over the place while I was waiting for anyone to show up. Thank you for stopping by. I've always got like 30 windows open, so just trying to close some of them down so this doesn't yell at me as much. Let me know if the stream isn't coming through very clearly. My typing is very loud, apparently. So, I'm gonna wait just a minute or two more to see if we have anybody else pop on. And also pop on to Google Plus and let everybody know what I'm doing. Thank you. Yeah, I sometimes forget to pull my microphone down because I'm not used to it being up there yet. It's only been up there for like a couple weeks. So the episode that I'm working on today is personality and leadership. This is episode 3. And I'm hoping to talk about basically personality tests that we use to evaluate leaders and individuals to see their leadership potential. So the ones that I'm probably going to cover a little bit in detail are DISC, MBTI, Big 5, and Clifton Strengths, which just changed its name from StrengthsFinder. And part of how I do the script writing and everything is I put comments on the side with any of the non-script information, like links and backup information, references, stuff like that. And that's a little bit of what I was doing leading up to the actual stream today. Sorry. Goodness. I also have, I think you all can see this, my textbook that I use for reference primarily is the Leadership Experience by Richard L. Daft. And I have a lot of textbooks, but this is the one that I found kind of the most useful through my program. It talks a lot about stuff. It talks about things in a way that kind of sounds respectful to people from my perspective. But personality and leadership here is actually a section in the text. I realized that after I named the episode. But it's got some details on like the Big 5 and the concepts of extroversion and introversion. And it's useful, basically. especially because it talks about like locus of control and stuff. And I've been trying to figure out what all I want to pull into the episode. Which bias are you talking about with DISC? Because I'm working with the ones that I was able to study and use in school, and DISC was one of those that I've used. And in my experience, it's been more reliable than a number of the others, but I don't know if I'm familiar with Ocean. I will be honest, like, I know that all of the tests have biases, and I just kind of am going on I'm going on what I know and what I've been able to read and understand and see the benefit of. So some tests I know are super biased and have actually done me negatively because of that. So far I haven't elaborated much on the episode beyond what's here. I'm hoping to basically pull out a little bit of detail about personality in general for the second half of the episode, depending on how long it ends up being. Could you elaborate on the bias? Is it a gender bias or some sort of background bias? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Yeah, personality testing is it's still pretty big, and there's a lot of different types of them, but I haven't taken all of them, obviously. I had something in the text that I wanted to try and cover in the episode. That's why I'm scrolling through here, and I'm just pulling a blank on what it was. I probably already passed it. Thank you very much. DISC is, I know that it's not perfect. None of them are. Honestly, most of them are not great. But I just find it easier to, kind of easier to use, and I find it to be one of the tests that is reliable in the results whenever I retake it. Oh, I hate Kiersey. I hate Kiersey so much. It's it actually it was the subject of much contention in my first class in my master's program because I'm non-binary, and it has a gender bias in the results. So So this has a really big breakdown of the big five because that was the popular one, I think, whenever this was out. I apologize for the clawing noise from my cat. But the big five obviously goes through, extroversion, conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness to experience. I miss agreeableness. I've got to look that up. That's strange. I actually am not a huge fan of the Big Five. The reason why I'm not a big fan of the Big Five is it's pretty negative in the results whenever I've taken it or seen other people take it. And that's actually, I think, detrimental, and I don't find it helpful. And I also think that extroversion is the extroversion introversion kind of concept, just like in MBTI, is not accurate a lot of the time. And Big Five also has a gender bias. If you take the tests marking, male or female, it can be biased based on what you choose. So I'm generally hesitant about it. I know it's popular, and I know there are a lot of the reasons why people like it. But it certainly has not been... It certainly has not turned out to have the best results for me in my analysis, and in the results that I've seen with coworkers and fellow students. It's been sometimes reliable and often kind of set a negative tone, which isn't a great thing. That's actually, I'm a fan of DISC because it has, the kind of simple 4 categories. And a reliability, in my experience, in repeat results. And StrengthsFinder, because of the repeat results, and also because it's positive and kind of positively reinforced and gives you ways to grow and change. Yeah, a lot of the tests can be, in my experience, pretty well manipulated because for example, MBTI, I've taken the lightweight kind of free test probably, I don't know, 8 times, maybe more. And every time I've taken it, I've gotten I knew what I was marking for a lot of them. And by which I mean I knew enough about the test that I could have gamed it if I wanted to, which I think is a bad sign. But yeah, I like that StrengthsFinder / Clifton Strengths easily retests with accuracy, and they offer a lot of constructive feedback. DISC does that too. They provide you with material. If you pay for the test, you get stuff that's useful to help you grow and use your skills and your behaviors based on what you now know, which to me is important. I'm glad you were also happy with StrengthsFinder, because I have yet to find any genuine criticism of it that's like really strong. So that's why it's my favorite. So let's see. I think I need to open the disc site. So that I can reference it here. I like how they have this fun little graphic that makes no sense if you don't know anything about the test. So here they have all the descriptions, but they're video, which is not useful for me. But I can probably use the general description. So basically I'm going to talk about how the disk, I gotta all caps this, I keep on forgetting that, disk profile is used to assess your influence, steadiness, and compliance. This is because it is a page. Let's see. Disk dominance is about accomplishing results and bottom line and yeah, there's the definitions of like the dominance, influence, and everything are kind of simple. I agree. Like there isn't a lot of flexibility in what they mean, I guess. But like for me, at least, the categories they have like structure and purpose to me. So that's something I find to be valuable in it. Trying to figure out how much of this I can actually say without taking forever to describe it. So maybe if I take that and ask John to put it as a thing. Dominance is about results and confidence. Maybe if I do a simplified version of each one. This is relationships and changing minds. Sometimes this is hard because like I don't want to overwhelm the text, but I also don't want to like not explain what stuff means. People with nice things are reliable and cooperative. Oh, hey kid. Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not as hard just because I can, remember what I wrote in it. Um, if it would help, for the purposes of this, I can go ahead and just swap it to, different. Go away. Select it to a different font. I can't all caps it. But I don't know what font would actually be good. All right, if you're sure, if you want me to just change it for a little bit, I can. Just let me know what font would be better, and I can pop it over to that for the time being. Because it's a Google Doc, you can easily edit it. I just realized the biggest problem I could possibly have for this episode. You're welcome. I can't pronounce conscientiousness without thinking really hard. So that's going to be hard to do. God, on screen. Conscientiousness is not the quality competency. Yeah, so John started having me do the script text like this a long time ago, like the first one that he taught me to write. And it's hard sometimes to work with, but sometimes whenever I'm reading for the actual read, like last time we switched it to a simpler font, but it does stay all caps because to change back and forth between them would just kind of be a pain. I know you can just like all caps, no caps, but writing them in caps makes it easier for me to remember to like spell out certain things and everything, because like you have to spell out numbers and abbreviations, and that matters for me. I need to figure out who I'm going to use as an example for this. I mean, I could honestly, like myself as all of these, I just need to know. That's the hardest thing here is sometimes whenever I have a foggy brain to figure out what game examples to use. Yep, exactly. Reading it aloud smoothly is like hard for me otherwise. I tend to pop up and down whenever I'm reading aloud. Okay, so I can delete this. Okay, so I need example of character or person. MBTI is the hardest because I just want to like yell about it all the time. I know that's terrible as like a professional, but I just don't like it. No. Come on. Man, these comments like freaking just do not like me. Okay, so I misspelled Myers-Briggs so bad. I'm still percolating on the, basically what I want to do is have like an example of a type of character, for each one of these tests to explain what one of the examples would mean. Like a character with high dominance and high influence but low steadiness and conscientiousness might be, I don't know, one of the Lannisters from, Game of Thrones. So how do I translate that into an RPG example and make sure that it makes sense and that it's still interesting? It's a lot harder than it sounds. Why'd I do that? That's what I need to do. Okay, so the Myers-Briggs type index is personality test based on the psychology of Carl Jung. So in regards to changing them into character attributes and stuff like that, I can't do that for all of them because it would make the episode really long. But I might be able to reference some simple things. The one thing that I do intend to do is talk about building a fake character with your StrengthsFinder results to help yourself understand them and use them better. Using the example of my results, I probably will put them under somebody else's name, though. And yeah, Kit, archetypes are part of what I'm looking into. So I'm wondering if there's like a specific Fate game that I could use for this purpose. And that's something I'm struggling with. Because I'd need to be able to get the game and skim it pretty quickly if I'm not familiar with it already. And I don't play Fate a lot. But I think Fate works for this. To explain how personality tests work, for some of them. And I'm just trying to figure out where I want to be. Obviously, any suggestions you guys give on here are kind of hopefully offered in good faith. But if you have any suggestions for Fate games that are smaller, simpler, easier to understand, one I was thinking is maybe getting in touch with Tracy Barnett about their Iron Edda game or something like that as an example for me to use. I got thrown off my game a little bit this week because of home life stuff, and I'm just trying to catch up. So that's something I need to figure out. So MBTI uses Carl Jung. Why'd I do this thing? So what are they called? The types are determined based on how many things are there? What are the words for them? Sorry, sometimes I can't remember like terms, and obviously this is probably one of the major reasons I'm not going for my doctoral program. Preferences, okay. Let's see. Reverse dictionary on the terms gives you to throw out dominance. That's a decent idea. I'm hoping I can use more specific examples just to strengthen it. But I'll keep that in mind as an option. So thank you. Let's see. Oops. Extroversion or introversion. Sensing or intuition. I don't know, like, the terms sensing and intuition are so similar to me. I don't know why I never realized how much that, like, didn't make sense to me. Thinking or feeling and judging or perceiving. It's so hard to talk about Myers-Briggs because there's so much content to it as much as there is so little actual useful information for me. Because, like, if I described all of these things in this video, it would take forever. That's hilarious. I actually have changed types a couple of times. I can't remember. I think I'm like an ENFJ or something. Something really weird. But I had been like an INFJ for like literally ever. By which I mean I had taken the same things and wanted to sound the same every time I took the test. And then over the past few years while I was struggling through bipolar episodes, it just like changed at random. It was so inconsistent, like week by week, because I took it so much for school, and then I'd take it to like, because they had suggested that it might be a good way to analyze how I'm feeling and stuff, and how rational I'm being. One of the things I dislike about a lot of these tests is they paint emotions as irrational. And that you can't be thinking when you're emotional, and the MBTI is pretty bad about that. They allow you to take... I'm not sure if they... I've never been able to take like multiple answers. It's always been one choice. Very restricted. And keep in mind, some of this stuff might be elaborated on before we actually do the episode and everything. But this is kind of what we got right now. Let's see. Oh, I've never heard of like taking it and like balancing out that. That's really interesting to take like the dual choices and stuff. Yeah, basically mine were just I took one paid one, and the other ones I've taken were through school or free ones. And like the biggest thing is that if they can't be consistent whenever like I'm going through a rough time on my basic abilities and skills, I don't find them useful. You would think as a game designer I would have more examples of game things that I would just be typing in here. But I've had a kind of long week. And so I'm just like totally not making it at all. Yeah. Let's see. Focus on flaws and demonstration press. Okay. So I'll go up to my textbook. The big. Actually, let me just work around here. The big five is a test that looks at dimensions of a person's personality. Oh, typo. This test that looks at dimensions of a person's personality that are that are supposed to lead to effective leadership. The dimensions are extroversion, agreeableness. Oh, I hate that word. I need to see if I'm going to say neuroticism or emotional stability, because I like what's in my textbook. But so test can have negative trend and results to focus on flaws rather than highlight strengths, and has shown to have a gender bias in testing. Oh my gosh. I never know how much I'm supposed to actually talk during these things. I'm still very new to it. But yeah, so this is how the process normally goes, is I just type a whole bunch of stuff and reference my textbook. It sounds very boring, but like it's nice to be able to talk a little bit about what I'm working on with people rather than just kind of sitting here. Thank you, Kit. let's focus on determining the strengths that a person has in a variety of areas. I can't remember how many dimensions. 34. Using a metric of 34 strengths. I appreciate the strengths finder. Clifton strengths. That's a lot going on. It's probably a little much, but I'm sure you can handle it. Let's see. Clifton strengths test. Because the focus on strengths combined with the information provided after taking the test help you focus your efforts and learn how to do learn how to use them effectively. I took the test. My results were both revealing and aspects of my behaviors. Yeah. So one of the things that I really like about Strengths Finders is like I found out new stuff about myself, but I also confirmed a lot of stuff about myself. And then new stuff about myself was still real. And so that's one of the reasons why I recommend it as a test, is because like it didn't feel like I was making stuff up, you know, whenever I read it, like some other tests have. So the idea that I had was to use fate to do aspects based on your Strengths Finder results. And that's because I really feel like it's a good way to understand what those things mean. Yeah, I think that like the fact that you can retake it so much and Strengths Finder still comes back with like pretty consistent stuff is pretty cool, because I have not had that experience with anything else. The only other one that's close is Disc. But I didn't try to manipulate that at all, and I also like was taking those for serious assessments both times. They weren't like super for funsies, so it makes a big difference, I think. Yeah. With me, like taking things at different times can mean taking them at different times in my cycle of bipolar, everything. So, like, if I manage to get consistent results on something, I'm impressed. So just to do a time check, now that I paused in the typing, I am probably going to wrap in about 10 minutes because I have limited computer time right now, and I still have work to do tonight aside from this. So, feel free to ask any more questions with that in mind. Okay. So I'm going to ask some questions in the video. I love asking questions in the video. Do you need to take action to be a better leader? I don't know. What action do you need to take? Oops. Leadership styles was the next part of this. I just have to find it. If they cover it in here. I mean, I kind of covered it in the previous part. Let's see. I mean, it's got like the contingency models stuff that there might be some details on styles in there. Leader style. Those are not the ones that I'm looking for, but it's good to know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to take a look a little deeper to see if I can find more information on styles in my textbook because I can't remember where they are. Substitutes for leadership. What? I like that they prioritize self-awareness and stuff in this text because, like, it is actually super important, and not all leaders have it. How attitudes affected. So, it's sometimes hard because, like, there's beyond my textbook, there's so much leadership stuff that I could cover, and right now I'm running into that, like, I can only cover so much moment where it's like I can't do yet another video on a whole bunch of complicated stuff. But I'm not sure if this will end up having to be split into two or not, because there's a lot of stuff here, and I could probably blend it with a shorter episode to make it better for the second half, but I'm gonna think about that. But did you all have any questions before I finish up in a few minutes? What am I looking to address specifically? The purpose of this one is to talk about, like, what personality tests are, and then the second half of this here is where I wanted to talk about, like, starting with this, what do you need to do to be a better leader? And maybe mention like some leadership styles that I think are, useful and good ones that you could apply. So, basically guiding people from learning about themselves to, if you know these things, what can you do with them to adopt a style as a leader, or to find out what style you already have. Thank you for the cheer. Situational leadership, kind of leadership, and I'm pulling a blank. I hate whenever my mind goes. Well, here's something. Directive leadership, participative leadership, achievement-oriented leadership, supportive leadership. Those are leader behavior ones. I'm going to have to do some more Googling because I need to look at maybe one of my additional textbooks to see if I can find some better information on leadership styles than what's in this textbook. I think it's just drilling down to so much specificity and such a topic that's like so big that they probably didn't cover all of it. Not too bad though, honestly, considering everything else that's covered in here. Thank you both so much for stopping by. I'm going to go ahead and end because I have a lot more work to do, and it looks like I got to dig into more research before I finish this up. But I really hope you enjoyed watching the stream, and that, what I shared was fun to see, and that I answered your questions well. If you have any other questions about it, you can hit us up on Leading W Class on Twitter. Our Patreon is patreon.com/leadingwithclass. And we're also on Instagram at instagram.com/leadingwithclass. So thank you again for stopping by.